This time I want to show you how simple it is to get to Formula One.
Ain't afraid to bare my soul, ain't afraid to walk on coals. I ain't gonna tell no lies, I ain't gonna apologize. Can't stop me now, can't stop me now. I'm just doing what I do.
Hello viewers and listeners to the Race Driver Coach Show. Enzo here, and yes, we're going to talk about Formula One again and how to get to Formula One. Now you may have seen I did a live video which talked about the cost of getting there, and it kind of showed you the ladder, but I'm still getting loads of questions for people saying, I desperately want to get to F1, or my son wants to get to F1. How do we do it? And to be fair, the actual principle and the way to get to Formula One is really simple. You have to meet certain criteria, you have to be a certain skill level, you have to be pretty damn good, and have the cash, and you can get there. That's it. I might as well finish the video there. Now, there's a difference between being simple and easy. It's bloody hard to get to F1, but the process is simple. What you have to do. It's very straightforward, should we say, if you don't like the word simple. Now, what I've done, I've just gone into Wikipedia, because I think a lot of you will have heard of the super license. That's what you need to get into an F1 car. You need that license, that F1 license, so you can enter. It's as simple as that. And now there's a criteria you've got to meet in order to get into an F1 car. You can't just go karting F3, F1 anymore. And I'll show you why. Now, I've gone to Wikipedia. People listening to this, you're going to have to bear with me. If you go to Wikipedia and search for super license, it will tell you all of this on here. But on here, I'm going to show you firsthand what it says. The six criteria you must meet in order to earn a super license so you can go and race Formula One. And here it is. The first requirement is you must be at least 18 years old. The second one is you must have an international grade A license. The third thing you must have is a road car license for the country you're from. Yeah, you've got a road car license. Then the fourth thing is you've got to pass a test. And the theory test is basically the sporting codes and the regulations of F1. The fifth thing you need is you basically need to have completed 2 seasons of single-seater racing. And finally, you need to score 40 super license points over the past 3 seasons. So the 6 things you've got to meet there in order to be allowed to race an F1 car. Now, the super license points is the biggest bane of our life, because it basically means what the FIA have done is they've taken a look at all the championships that are out there, single-seater ones mostly, but LMP as well and things like that. They've taken a look at them and said, right, and NASCAR, this championship deserves the winner and the top 5, maybe the top 10, but the top front runners deserve to have this many certain championship or super license points for finishing where they do. So to make it even simpler to understand, because I baffled that, I've got a list here, and it's on the same page as the Wikipedia. It's on the Wikipedia page, and you can see the points are here. This is how many super license points you get. Now, the karting world championships, you get the top 4 people get super license points. The winner gets 4. P2 gets 3 super license points. P3 in the championship gets 2, and P4 gets 1. Okay, so that's how it works. And you can see as I scroll up, sorry for people listening to this, but the Formula Mazda here, that gets you 10 for winning the championship. So you get 10 super license points. And as I scroll up, you can see that things like Indy Lights, if you win that, you get 15 super license points, and it runs all the way down here to 1. I don't know what position that is, 8th. And that's the same for Formula Renault. You've got Super GT, DTM. Now DTM, if you win DTM, it only gives you 20 super license points. That's quite crazy. So you'd have to win it twice in a row really to get the points, the 40 points, but you probably got points before that in the previous season. But it does go towards it. It's not a single-seater championship, but it does go towards your super license points. Then you get to the big ones at the top, like the Formula 2. Then you got IndyCar. Them both of them, they get you 40 points. So if you win F2, straight away you've got enough points to get into F1. If you win IndyCar, straight away you get enough points. But again, you probably got it before that. And you can see F3 underneath. This is the system here. The top 10 all get super license points. And that's how it works. So really, when you think about the model of how to get to Formula One, the ladder, they want you to do karting. Really, they want you to do F4, F3, F2, and then F1. If you follow that route, you get more championship points, or sorry, you get more super license points, but it costs more. But F1 just want you to follow that route. You can go all the other ways. You know, you got points for NASCAR and things like this, and you can jump across, but you must do 2 seasons of single seaters. So that's really the criteria you got to meet. Now, how you do that is up to you. How are you going to get the money to compete in the championships that are going to allow you to get super license points that allow you to get into F1? This is what you've got to unlock. So as I say, F1's just said, just meet this criteria and we'll give you a super license, or we should give you a super license. Obviously, race teams, they want cash from you. They want cash for you to run in F4. They want cash from you to run the car. They'll run the car for you, but they want you to pay them in F3 and F2 and in F1. You know, an F1 team might say, okay, you got a super license, but I want you to give us 10 mil and you can have this seat, because there's plenty of drivers that will pay that. So that's really how it runs. The question I want to ask you is, how are you going to do that? How are you going to get the money to compete in these championships? And then, something that a lot of people forget, when I get messages and comments saying, all I care about is Formula One, I want to get there, have you thought about the fact that you need to be good enough? It's called motorsport, okay? It's a sport of competing cars. But the driver has to have the skill. You can't just say, I want to win Wimbledon, I want to be the #1 tennis player, without understanding that you need to be good enough at the actual game. It's the same for driving. People just think they're going to learn, but this still requires you to be good. And there's not many people that are good enough. There's not many people that have the skill and are fast, that their face fits and they're good with people, so the manufacturers want to hire them, that have the money to race. That's where it gets difficult. If we are to list out all the things you need to do to make a professional career, it's obvious. You can see it there. You don't need to know how to do it. It's all there. It's up to you to actually do it. Now, if you're out there, you're wondering how to get to Formula One, you're watching this, you're listening to this, you haven't got the cash, but you're just dreaming, I just want you to start to think to yourself, I've got to get off my ass. In the last video, I said just race anything, and I mean it. How are you going to get on the track in the first place? Pick something you can afford. Pick something that's possible to get the money for. Otherwise, you're just going to sit at home dreaming. It's massively hard to get into Formula One. It's hard. It's the same with IndyCar. The IndyCar route is pretty much, you can do Formula 4, US Formula 4 or Formula Ford. You can do USF 2000, you can do Pro 2000, Indy Lights, and then IndyCar. It's the same structure. There's not the super license points, so it's a little bit easier. And the winner normally gets a scholarship that pays for half of the next tier. So as you're working your way up, you win USF 2000, the championship give you money that goes towards the next tier, which is Pro 2000, Indy Pro. And that it's a little bit easier. That's why I like motorsport I like the route in America, because it does actually give you a chance if you win, which we don't in Europe so much, but we've got to. Someone's got to come up with something. So that is really all there is to it. And you can see it's a mammoth mountain to climb, because you've got to finish in the top part of the championship in everything you do. If you've taken 5 years, and 5 years ago you scored loads of points, super license points, but then you didn't score many, you've lost them that you scored 5 years ago, because they expire. See how difficult it is? Are you ready for this? If so, you've got to come up with a plan, and you've got to execute on it. You've got to start right now of what you're going to compete in 2021. What are you going to be doing in that 6 months? You've got to be something. Even if it's a championship that hasn't got super license points, but it allows you to do the sporting side. It allows you to become better as a driver. It allows you to meet people in the industry because you're at the races. You're talking to people. You're getting lots of little sponsors on the car, and you're building this empire. I'm pretty much repeating what I said in the last video, but I want to hit it home. Yes, you can go for F1. No problem. But remember, you've got to meet this criteria. It's not like it used to be, where you just impress somebody and turn up with loads of cash. Even if you've got loads of cash, you still have to get them license points. Even if you buy an F1 team and try and buy yourself into F1, how are you going to get the super license points? You've got to finish at the top of, or the top part of the main championships that lead up to it. That's not easy, but it is simple. And I think it's about time you get to it. Don't stop. Don't watch another video until you've executed and you've done something towards getting you on the grid in some way for next year, in 6 months' time, next week. You've got to get on the grid and you've got to show us what you're made of. Now get out there and do it.
Can't stop me now.